Hi everyone, this is Darcy with Preserving My Sanity, and this is the latest episode of What's in Your Fridge. So, as you hop on, go ahead and say hi in the comments. But basically, my vision for this episode is that it's a time where we're all trying to go to the store a little bit less often. We may be struggling to figure out what to make for dinner with what we have in the house and different things like that. So I encourage you to come on and tell me in the comments, maybe a few ingredients that you have in your house that you want to use up, but you don't know how to put them together, or you just aren't sure what to make for dinner. I'm not an expert by any means, but my husband and I do this a lot. We make some pretty creative meals sometimes. Some of them I share with you and some of them I don't, but it's kind of fun. It's interesting, and you can make really unique things if you just think outside the box. And so I would like to help you do that if you want me to. So that's kind of my idea for this episode. But in the meantime, when no one comes on live to give me ingredients, I always talk about something else to help you with your meal planning. So since nobody is jumping on quite yet, I'll just go ahead and start sharing kind of what we've got going on this week. I've been going to the grocery store every other week. I've been trying to. Normally, during normal life, I probably go to the grocery store once every 3 days or so. We live in a small town where the grocery store is less than a mile away, and I just don't usually have to stress too much about having everything I need for a week or 2 weeks or whatever. But since all of this started, I've been trying to spread out my trips and go like once every 2 weeks. So we already have a pretty well-stocked pantry between things that I buy from the store on a normal basis and things that we preserve at home. And then we also have a lot of stuff in the freezer because my husband hunts and fishes a lot. And I buy, meat when it's on sale, things like that. So we already were pretty well stocked. But what I have been needing to go to the store for is the same thing as all of you guys, which is like your eggs, your milk, your bread, your butter, produce, yogurt, fresh produce, yogurt. That's pretty much what I've been shopping for. So when I went last week, I got a little excited in the produce aisle because it had been 2 weeks since I'd been there, and so we didn't really have any fresh produce left. Now we have quite a bit of produce frozen from our garden from last year, and we also have some canned produce like green beans and some dehydrated kale, things like that. So we weren't without vegetables, but you just can't really replace fresh produce. So I bought bananas and oranges, and then last week I bought 2 bundles of asparagus and a bunch of broccoli and a whole head of cabbage, a whole big bag of kale, a package of romaine lettuce, and some more onions and fresh tomatoes. So I bought a bunch of stuff. So we've been eating some of it. I brought the kale home, and what we've been doing with that is we actually make like half of it into kale salad. So I chop up about half of the big bag of kale, and I make my own dressing with Greek yogurt, caramelized onions, some mayonnaise, and some garlic powder, salt and pepper, vinegar, and sugar. You can buy it. There's a dressing in the salad dressing aisle that's like, I think it's poppy seed onion dressing or something, and that's basically what I make. So you can buy the dressing. Regardless, it's the dressing and the kale, and then I use some sort of chopped nuts and craisins, and that's it. And it's really good. So this last week I used roasted pumpkin seeds. Sometimes we use walnuts. You can also put feta cheese in there if you want. We do pretty light dressing, so it's, you're eating mostly kale, and then it's just a little bit of dressing for flavor. So I did that with like half the bag, and then the other half of the bag, I just cook it. So I basically steam it and until it's done and tender, because it takes a little while to make kale tender. And so I just cook it until it's tender and ready to use, and then we keep it in a bowl in the fridge so we can just throw it in whatever we're making. So we made some pasta with a variety of vegetables in it, and so we threw some kale in there. Sometimes we'll put it in whatever we're having for breakfast. You can just really throw it in lots of things. So that's what we've been doing with kale. So now it's almost a week later, and I realized last night, hey there, somebody just popped on. Hi. So I'm just talking about the vegetables, produce that I bought last week and kind of some of the things I'm doing with it. So we pretty much ate all the kale, and we've eaten almost all the romaine, but we haven't really touched much of the other vegetables that I bought. So I realized yesterday that we have a whole head of cabbage, we have a whole bunch of broccoli, we have most of the asparagus left that I bought, and we have 2 whole tomatoes. So I was trying to figure out what to make, and I wasn't really feeling very creative. And so I actually grabbed a couple of my cookbooks and just sat down and looked through them. And this worked really well for me, and so I just wanted to share it with you today. I actually got 2 of the Skinny Taste cookbooks about a year ago as a gift. And I am embarrassed to say this, but I really hadn't looked at them yet. I don't often take time to sit down and look at books. So I did last night. So I looked through both of them last night, and instead of looking through it like you normally would, where you look through it and you find, things that you think your family would like, things that sound good to you, things you want to make at some point, to build your shopping list, instead of looking at it that way, I looked at it like, okay, what recipes in these books call for the ingredients that I have? So I have a list here. It's nothing fancy. So like down on the bottom here, I wrote down the vegetables that I wanted to make sure I use. And then on the other side, I wrote down some of the things in our pantry that are nearing expiration that need to be used. And then I made my list. So this piece of paper just has a list of the things in these cookbooks that I thought sounded good, first of all, but second, more importantly, the things that call for ingredients that I have, so I can use the things that I have, which is the whole goal and the whole point of this episode. So just like, for example, one of our favorite Skinny Taste recipes, you can actually find this recipe online, is egg roll in a bowl. So you basically just take ground pork, and it's got Asian seasonings in it, and chopped up cabbage, basically, grated carrots, pretty much anything you'd put in egg roll filling. And then you just cook it, and then sometimes I usually keep some fried, or some, not fried, some plain wonton wrappers in the freezer. And so we usually just fry a couple of those in the pan, just plain like wonton chips. So then we have egg roll in a bowl with a couple of wonton chips on the side, and it's dinner. And it uses a lot of cabbage, so it's really good for you, and it would be a good way to use our cabbage. So that's one of the things I wrote down, for example. There's another recipe here that, let me see what another one is. She has a recipe for a broccoli pasta dish. So her recipe is actually a vegetarian version, and it just has a whole bunch of broccoli and shell noodles, and then her other ingredients and stuff. But, you could expand on that. You could make broccoli and tuna pasta with cream sauce if you wanted, or you could make chicken and broccoli, or you could make chicken and rice and broccoli. So, once you're looking through the cookbooks and seeing these different ideas, it kind of starts to get your brain flowing a little bit of some other ideas that you can do. So, I think I might make some sort of broccoli pasta with our broccoli. Fresh tomatoes, I didn't really find a lot of recipes with tomatoes. I said from sauce and stuff, but the tomatoes I bought are really good and fresh, and so I think we'll probably just end up eating them. We like to make tomato salad, so we'll just chop them up and mix them up with like some diced onion and some dried basil and some balsamic vinegar and salt and pepper. My husband usually makes it. I think that's about it. Some people call it bruschetta. So tomato salad, bruschetta, whatever you call it, we'll probably do that with the tomatoes. And then that just kind of leaves us with the asparagus. And I found one really cool recipe that she has that's basically chicken cordon bleu, and then she just served asparagus on the side. When we actually have part of a package of deer ham that my husband made this winter that we pulled out of the freezer. So we have deer ham that we took out of the freezer and put in the fridge, and there's like half of that bag left. and I have chicken breasts in the freezer, so I'm thinking I could make chicken cordon bleu and use the deer ham as the ham, and then we have Swiss cheese in the fridge, and then we can just have asparagus on the side. So that's what I did last night to figure out what to do with all these vegetables that I overbought. So I have a couple meals on deck here. And then, you know, while I was looking, I also, you see my list is kind of big. While I was looking, I also wrote down just some recipes that I knew I wanted to try, whether I had the ingredients or not. So then, like, next time I make a shopping list, you know, I can look at those and see what I need to buy to make those things. So I see a couple people have come on. If you have any ingredients in your fridge that you need help using, feel free to put them in the comments for me and I'll help you figure out what to make with them. I have way too many cookbooks. So last night I looked through these two, and I'm not going to tell you how many more I have actually, but I have plenty more. So if I run out of ideas in these two books, I have plenty more books I can revert to next. And there's always recipes online too. If you go to I talked about Skinny Taste here because those are the cookbooks I looked at last night. She's got a really awesome website with all kinds of stuff on it. You know, I don't have a ton of actual recipes on my website, but there's a few recipes on my website. There's food bloggers everywhere. If you go on Pinterest or Google, you know, even if you just type your ingredients in, if you have 3 random things and you don't think they go together, go type them into Google and say, what can I make for dinner with, you know, pork tenderloin and red peppers and buttermilk? I don't know. Say those are the 3 things you have. Type it into Google, and you might be surprised what it'll give you back. So that would be my advice. And I guess I don't really have anything else to share with you today since nobody has any ingredients for me. I'll go ahead and wrap this up. If you're watching the replay, feel free to put your ingredients in the comments. I'd be happy to answer you after the video is over in a comment too. So thanks so much for watching. You guys have a good day. Again, this was Darcy with PreservingMySanity.com. Take care.